Hello viewers, this is Mahantesh Bhapri. Uh, Welcome to this video, dear teachers, friends and students. So I feel very happy to bring before you a new poem from 10th class English second language. So name of the poem is Grandma Climbs a Tree. It is written by Ruskin Bond. So Ruskin Bond is the poet of this poem, and it's a very beautiful poem as Ruskin Bond wrote ever. He himself said in one of his books. So it's a beautiful poem. So let's read that poem and understand so many things about the grandma. So before we start this poem, let's study about the poet. Ruskin Bond, born in Kasauli. So he was born in Kasauli in 1934. Ruskin Bond now lives in Missouri. So he now lives in Missouri in Himachal Pradesh. He wrote his first novel. So he wrote his first novel, The Room on the Roof. So he wrote his first novel, that is The Room on the Roof, when he was just 17 years old. When he was just 17 years old, he wrote his first novel, The Room on the Roof. ಅವರು 17ನೇ ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ದ ರೂಮ್ ಆನ್ ದ ರೂಫ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕಾದಂಬರಿಯನ್ನ ಬರೀತಾರೆ. And has written more than 30 books for children. So he wrote more than 30 books for especially for children. So Grandma Climbs a Tree shows Bond's great ability to enjoy unusual events. So this poem brings before us or tells us Bond's unusual or extraordinary skill of depicting the story or extraordinary skill of presenting the events and actions. ಬಾಂಡ್ ರಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಪಡಿಸುವ ಒಂದು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟ ಶೈಲಿ, ಕಥೆ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಘಟನೆ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದನ್ನು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸುವ ಒಂದು ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟ ಶೈಲಿಯನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದು. Scenes from a writer's life. So he's in his autobiography. His autobiography is scenes from a writer's life. Autobiography means writing about the self. ತಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನದ ಘಟನೆಗಳನ್ನ ತಾವೇ ಬರೆದುಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಆಟೋಬಯೋಗ್ರಫಿ ಅಥವಾ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಆತ್ಮಕಥೆ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೀನ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಎ ರೈಟರ್ಸ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಅವರ ಆತ್ಮಕಥೆ. ಯಾರ್ದು? ರಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಅವರದು. ಬಾಂಡ್ talks about his Calcutta granny as a strange person. So he talks about his Calcutta grandmother who sat alone in the evenings playing cards with patience. Which game she plays? So she plays game of cards. So he explains it. So in this poem, Grandma Climbs a Tree, the poet Ruskin Bond speaks about unusual or special qualities of grandma. As usual, our grandmothers are grandmother. Usually, grandmothers have got their own unique or special qualities. Some may be some may get pleasure or happiness in playing with children. Some may get very happiness in telling story to the children, and some may be getting happiness in doing some childish activities. So this in this poem we find childish activities of grandma. Though it looks so childish, but it is unusual. It is not so ordinary, it's extraordinary. So let's read it. Please open your textbook, dear children. Page number 19. First I read. My grandmother was genius. You would like to know why? Because she could climb trees spreading or high. She would be up their branches in tree. And mind you, when last she climbed a tree, she was 62. Ever since childhood, she would had this gift for being happier in a tree than in a lift. And though as years went by, she would be told the climbing trees should stop when one grew old, and that growing old should be gone about gracefully, she would laugh and say, well, I will grow disgracefully, I can do it better. And we had to agree, for in all the garden there wasn't a tree. She hadn't been up, and at one time or another, having learned to climb from a loving brother when she was 6, but it was feared by all that one day she would have a terrible fall. The outcome was different. While we were in town, she climbed a tree and couldn't come down. Who couldn't come down? Grandma. After the rescue, the doctor took Granny's temperature and said, I strongly recommend a quiet week in bed. We sighed with relief and tucked her up well. Poor Granny, for her, it was like a brief season in hell, confined to her bed while every breeze whispered of summer and dancing leaves. But she had held her peace till she felt stronger. Then she sat up and said, I will lie here no longer. And she called for my father and told him, undaunted, that a house in treetop was what now she wanted. My dad knew his duties. He said, that's all right. You will have what you want, dear. I will start to work tonight. With my expert assistance, he soon finished the core, made her a tree, a house with windows and door. So Granny moved up, and now every day I climb to her room with glasses and tray. She sits there in state and drinks sherry with me, upholding her right to reside in a tree. So, dear children, please read this poem once, twice, even thrice, and try to understand. It's a very simple poem. What this poem tells us. Here we find a grandmother who is very genius or wise. In what field? In which field she was genius? Was she genius in running? Was she genius in writing? Was she genius in drawing? Was she genius in painting? Like this, in which field she was genius? So let's study it. My grandmother was genius. Poet says his grandmother was genius. Genius means extraordinary. In which field she was extraordinary? You would like to know why. How do you know? Do you want to know in which field she was bright and genius? Because she could climb trees. So, how in which field she was genius? She was genius in climbing tree. She was wise in climbing trees. Though she was very old, but she had the habit of climbing trees, spreading high. Whether that tree may be spreading agalavada high or top, what we can say tall. So whether that tree may be tall or spreading, she would be very easily climb the trees. So this was the genius of grandmother. She would be up there in branches in a thrice. So thrice means 3 times. At least 3 times she could climb the tree. So this was her habit. This was her habit to climb the tree. Mind you, when last she climbed a tree, she was 62 years. When she climbed the tree, she was just 62 years. It means that now her age was 62 years. Please underline. Ever since childhood, she would had this gift. What was that gift? She had that gift of climbing the tree. So when she learned this, when she was just like a child, she learned this art of climbing tree and skill of climbing tree. For being happier in tree than in lift. She was very happy in a tree, not in lift or bungalow. So she was happier in tree, not in lift. Lift means it is a thing by which we can move to upstairs. ಮೇಲ್ಮಹಡಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಸರಳವಾಗಿ ಬಳಸತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಮಷಿನ್ ಅದು. So where she was happier in tree. Please underline. Although And though as years went by, she would be told. So many her relatives told as years went by. When she became old, so many her relatives and friends advised her grandmother, don't climb the tree. That climbing tree should stop when one grew old. You are old now, you have to stop climbing trees. But this granny was not in a position to stop her climbing. And that growing old should be gone about gracefully. So when ages pass, in the same way, but strength will lessen down or decrease. So all advised that granny to stop climbing. She would laugh. So she laughed when she heard this. She laughed and said that I will grow disgracefully. I can do it better. If I became how much I became older and older, that much skill I would have, and I would climb it in a very systematic manner. She replied. Please underline this. Who said this? Grandma said this to whom? Her relatives. You can be asked it for extract question. It's a very important question. And we had to agree, all agree. Nobody can question grandma. For in all the garden there wasn't a tree. So there was no tree that she had not climbed. So she climbed every tree there. She hadn't been up at one time or another. So she climbed every tree one time to one time, another time. So she climbed many times. Having learned to climb from a loving brother, please underline. Whom did she learn from? Grandma learned the art of climbing tree from her brother when she was 6 years old. You can be asked here one question. From whom grandma learned the art of climbing? Certainly from her loving brother when she was just 6 years old. And it was feared by all that one day she would have terrible fall. So everybody feared that one or other day she would fall down. She was not listening anybody. So one or another day she would fall down. That happened. Outcome was different while we were in town. So such thing happened when all were in town. She climbed a tree. She climbed one tree and she couldn't come down. She could not come down. She climbed easily, but she could not come down. So she fell. She fell down. So she was rescued. She was protected. She was saved. I can kapadtare. ಆದ್ರೂ the doctor took granny's temperature. Doctor checked granny's temperature. Granny ಅಜ್ಜಿಯ ಒಂದು ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಂಡ್ said I strongly recommend a quiet week in bed. Please underline. Who said this? Doctor. To whom? Grandma. I refers to doctor. What did the doctor recommend? Doctor recommend 1 week bed rest. To whom? Grandma. We sighed ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಟ್ಟುಸಿರು ಬಿಡುದು. Everyone sighed that 1 week we will be very happy. And tucked her up well. Poor granny, poor granny. Everybody said, poor granny, this should not happen. It was like a brief season in hell. So, staying in home is just a brief season for hell. It is just like hell. Hell andre naraka, bad days. ಆಕೆಗೆ ಕೆಟ್ಟ ದಿನಗಳಾಗಿದ್ವು. You can be asked here, how was the life of grandma in the bed? So, it was just like a brief hell. Confined to her bed. Confined andre ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗೋಂಗಿಲ್ಲ ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟಪಡಿಸಿದ್ರು. So she was attached to bed means she has compelled to rest in bed. While every breeze whispered of summer and dancing leaves. So grandma was seeing here and there and she wanted to climb that, go outside and she wanted to climb the tree. But doctor unfortunately recommended her to have rest for 1 week. But she had held her peace. Still, she was very peaceful in the bed until she gets stronger. Until she becomes stronger, she will be peaceful. When then she sat up. One day she sat up after becoming strong. I will lie here no longer. Underline. So I will not live here no longer. ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಳ ದಿವಸ ಇರಲ್ಲ. And she called for my father and told him. So she called my father means she called her son. My father means poet's father means her son she called. And that house in a tree top was what she now wanted. So she demanded a tree top house, not a beautiful house on the earth. She demanded a house in a tree top house. My dad knew his duties, so my poet's father agreed it. Okay, okay, mother, you will have. He said, that's all right. You will have what you want. Please underline. Who said this? Uh, Poet's father. To whom? His mother. I will start to work tonight. Poet's father started working. So in this way, let's continue. With my expert assistance, assistance means help. Please note down, assistance means help. Poet and his father together completed the completed building treetop house. He soon finished the core. Core means work. Core means task. Please note down. Core means task or given work. We can say or given work. We can say. So, which was the work given to his father? To build a treetop house. Made her a tree house with windows. So, poet built that house in a beautiful way. Door, window, everything was there. Windows and door. So, Granny moved up. So, Granny climbed there. And what happens now? Every day I climb to her room with glasses and a tray. Every day poet's father and sometimes poet climbs the tree, and they used to go there and they used to give food and water to her. She sits there in a state. She sits there as if she was a queen and drinks a sherry with me. And sherry was a soft drink in Western countries, and it is commonly received by all. So it is a common drink in Western countries because too much of cold is there. To avoid that cold, they used to take that kind of drink. So she used to enjoy share, and upholding her right to reside in a tree. So she reside means she lives there for so many years. So this is the story, and this is a beautiful story. You can easily understand this. So dear students, please read it once, twice, and thrice, and note down all new words and try to answer all 1 marks, 2 marks questions and extracts which you have underlined. Please complete them. So a summary can be asked on this poem. Write about grandma, or we can say how grandma's nature was unusual. Please write the summary, or we can say write about poet's views of grandma. Like this you can be asked summary question. So it's easy, and it is asked for 3 marks, or we can say 4 marks. Please read this and uh, get the guidance of your teacher and write all the answers to the question, and get them checked by your teacher. Till then, thank you for spending your valuable time in watching my video and learning at home in these COVID-19 crucial days. So don't go outside. Take care of yourself. And still, if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it for valuable videos. ಆತ್ಮೀಯರೇ, ನನ್ನ ಚಾನಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಡ್ ಒಂದು ಕಲರ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಅಂತ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು. ನಾವು ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಗುಣಮಟ್ಟದ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳು ತಮ್ಮ ತನ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ತಲುಪ್ತವೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.